Hello, 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 and welcome to another edition of your weekend watch list here on Hakuna MaChatter. I am your host, Elliot, and today we have a really exciting show for you today, guys. We're going to be talking the WandaVision finale. So if you're yet to watch the final episode, this is your spoiler warning. We're going to be going deep into spoilers. It's in the title. You've got a warning. I'll give another warning in a bit, but just so you know, we also have some really interesting discussions today based around on if diversity can ever go too far in film and TV. This is something I can't discuss on my own, though. Of course, I do have a very special guest with me. His name is Ty from the channel iTy. Ty, let's bring you in, man. How's it
Hello,
going? How you doing today?
hello everyone. Hi. Hello, Elliot. Thanks for having me on board, man.
Dude, it's so glad to have you here. So man, we are going to be discussing some of the films and shows we've been watching recently, or we've been watching for a while now, that we want to recommend to this audience today to go and check it out themselves this weekend and over the coming weeks. And also, we're going to have a little chat about diversity, and it was something that you yourself wanted to talk about, and if diversity can ever go too far. What is it we're trying to what is the end game? What are we trying to reach here? And so that's all going to be part of the show today. But before we kind of get all deep into this, like just tell me, man, like how's the week been going? Like how are things going for you? All right?
Yeah, man. At times I wanna make it out to be it's been interesting, but it's not.
Mm,
But I'm trying to do the kind of like be productive in kind of in my own way. So like find new ways to kind of make the lockdown kind of time go by smoothly and kind of easily, and also kind
mm.
of get out something sort of in that way. So yeah, just taking each day as it comes, and just I guess each, and also finding each different day just to kind of better myself or better the
Nice, man.
future in whatever way I possibly can find.
Awesome. And tell us a bit about the channel, man. Tell us a bit about iTy. What is it you get up to there? So the viewers know where you're coming from today.
Yeah, of course. Well, iTy, wow. I see iTy is like that recurring Pokemon that just keeps on evolving. It started out as just, well, I don't know what it was, and then it just kept evolving. And I think it got to that point where it's just like, you know what? You're now legendary Pokemon. You're like Dialga or
Nice.
like Palkia. I think we're at a good place. In Bear might have made change, but I think we're at a good place. So yeah, throughout my time, there was so many things I was doing.
Mm,
I'm not sure kind of what I wanted to do in my channel. I know I kind of wanted to just make content.
yeah.
So I started out, with like just anything. Just like yourself, Elliot, I'm also an actor. So I
Yep.
did put the little shortish here skits there because they brought fun to my life. And then as you do, and little gameplays here there, and also, but I think what my audience kind of know me for, and what my kind of niche, if you kind of say, is I do a lot of kind of reactions, mainly
Mm,
kind of like trailer kind of related. So that is what I'm kind of like known for. And yeah, but I've kind of the gameplay ish esque and kind of skits I've kind of like buried, because that I realized that, one, they weren't getting the kind of views that I want them to get,
sure.
and two, I realized that audiences do kind of, well, my audience did really kind of take well to my reactions. So I was thinking,
Mm,
okay, that's what, now I thought to myself, how can I capitalize on this? How can I kind of, do something with this? So
yeah.
yeah, what I kind of want to do, and content I really want to kind of aim to kind of make with my channel, is that I really am a huge fan of 90s and kind of 80s nostalgia. Like,
Yeah.
you name it, I grew up with Ninja Turtles, Power Rangers, Ghostbusters, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. Like, that's kind of my gist, and I kind of want to
Mm,
like incorporate that with my content. So from the
nice.
odd reactions here and there where I react to like trailers and stuff, I also want to kind of get involved in like doing particular kind of video essays. So
Hmm.
there's few kind of Power Rangers ones that I've kind of like just been writing out scripts for. So, and with the new season of Power Rangers Dino Fury, I'm kind of doing I want to start kind of reacting to that season as well, like on my channel. So there is that, and kind of moving forward. So I'm gonna still do kind of like the whole reactions here and there, because like, I do kind of one, I enjoy it. Two, I think that's how they really kind of see the real me, and it kind of I'm just comfortable. I'm kind of in my element, and it's where I kind of feel safe. And not to sound lazy, they're really easy to edit. So the whole thing of editing is just like it's just so easy. It's just like it's not like, but yeah, that's I think I've kind of said more or less kind of where I'm from, and yeah, it's just like I said, the channel I don't see it as kind of like one thing. It kind of keeps evolving, but I think where it is right now, it's at a good place, and I'm quite proud of it. And yeah,
great, man, good to hear. And yeah, I think what you've really kind of captured there is right what you're saying. It's about getting your personality across, and you have a beaming personality. So if you can find the way that is easy for you to get that across, then and doing stuff that you also enjoy,
definitely
that's the way you kind of got to go, really, isn't it? Because we make the videos for our audience, but we have to make them for ourselves as well, right?
True, definitely. I really loathed doing reactions. I was just thinking, this is just I was thinking, like, in a sense, I was thinking, there was always that kind of thing in the back of my head, just thinking, this is not technically speaking original content. It's just kind of like it's just me reacting to someone else's content. And I was just like, it was always that kind of thing in my head. But then, not to sound like that guy, but I realized they are doing well with views. So I was just thinking, hey, they must like it. So I was thinking, have at it. Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, keep at it.
I mean, it's a big market on YouTube anyway, isn't it, really? So
definitely, yeah. And I realized with myself, you know what? After time, I like doing them. I'm comfortable. And you know what? Yeah.
Nice.
You got to read the public. You got to read the market. You got to see what people are like and what they're kind of taking to. So it's just give the people what they want, as they say.
Definitely. Awesome, man. Right. Well, to anyone that is watching and hasn't checked Itai out, I have got a link to his channel in the description box. So do make sure you click forward, subscribe to him, and check some of that 80s, 90s reaction goodness out. Lovely. All right. So shall we get into our first topic of the day?
Of course.
It is going to be the magnificent WandaVision. Oh, my screen has frozen my side. So hang on. There we are. I'm back. WandaVision. Awesome. So
I was looking for like a Marvel shirt and Thanos. So
nice. I decided that it's quite cold in my flat, so I'm going to keep the nice knitted jumper on for this one.
Of course.
Keep myself
all the way.
So we are going to be chatting WandaVision. We're going to be chatting the WandaVision finale as well. So I will reiterate at this point, spoilers for WandaVision finale for the whole show if anyone has not watched yet. But Ty, okay, I mean, I know I was bringing WandaVision forward for us to discuss, but you are the guest, so I'm gonna kind of throw this mainly to you. Like, WandaVision, the show, WandaVision, the finale. How has it been for you, man?
It has been, Elliot. It surprised me. It really did surprise me. I was just going into this like sitcom, Marvel. Not see it's gonna how what, but I thought, hey, let me try to feel optimistic. And honestly, at first, like looking back to the very first episode, I don't think anyone in the world knew what was going on. We're just like, we don't know what's going on, but are we going to keep watching? Yes. So and then episode after episode, we kind of learn what's really kind of happening with like particularly how this kind of scenario has came to be. The implements of kind of different characters from all across the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and Marvel did such a brilliant job with it. Bringing in Monica Rambeau, who we've obviously from the Captain Marvel movies, Darcy from the four movies for the Dark World, and it's funny that this guy was really hated in Ant-Man and the Wasp, but like Jimmy Woo, like the guy's got a fandom, man. Like,
oh right,
he's probably like the most beloved character in all of the series. And thinking I love Jimmy Woo as well, but yeah, but it's just I've really enjoyed it. It's just I don't think there's been a dullish moment where I've just gone, Yeah, and that finale, oh wow,
Yeah, man.
that left. I want to say I don't. It gave me answers and questions, and answers. Yeah, things were answered, but not as too many much questions because I feel the questions that I have, I know the answers to them, but I think
Mm.
that's just Marvel being Marvel. Be like, ah, well, you gotta wait and see, as always.
Yeah, I agree. I've really enjoyed it. I kind of like, for me it was one of my least anticipated phase 4 projects, and I think that was mainly because Wanda and Vision had been very much secondary characters throughout their stint within the MCU to that point. And so I was more anticipated, and still am more anticipated for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But that being said, Marvel put out a new project, I'm not going to not sit there and watch it. So,
Yeah,
and WandaVision, yeah, I think those first 2 episodes, I was very much like what is going on? Like, I think we all knew
yeah,
that something was going to crack, and we were going to see, we
yeah,
were building up to something, and it was, but I just thought it was such an amazing like attempt to even like think about doing, let alone actually doing. Just going, yeah, we're just going to give them a complete slow burner here. We're just so used to these 2-hour films where we get everything answered, questions there, and then
yeah,
the further questions just come in the post-credit scene. And
yeah.
no, I've had a really, really fun time with it. Just before we go any deeper, let's just give a shout out to people in the comments, because we've got some people in the comments coming
Okay.
forward. We've got Lisa first saying hello to both us, both of
No,
us. She also
Lisa.
mentions that she's a big fan of 80s music and films.
Love
We've got Eric Heine in as well. He's asking what's up. How you doing, Eric? Thank you for joining the stream. Ross Meakin as well, saying yes, Ty. He's joined us today, and he's asked us if we guys think it was at all an anticlimax. So I'll throw that one over to you, Ty. Like, was this WandaVision finale an anticlimax for you? You said that you've enjoyed it. You said that questions and answers were there, but what's your overall feeling?
I feel that's a very interesting question. I feel kind of like it with the kind of anticlimax. I feel it kind of was necessary, and I feel that I don't know. I wasn't expecting like this a whole kind of like end game kind of scenario, but I was thinking,
Yeah,
what? Yeah, it's just like that's kerfuffled me really, because like that could be up for debate, because like it was, in a sense, it felt right, and I kind of knew that this, like, for kind of both kind of Wanda and Vision, it'd be kind of like a closure kind of moment, in a sense that they,
yeah,
in some sort of way, they will both kind of receive closure. I mean, Wanda finally kind of giving into the kind of loss of kind of having Vision, and Vision also at the same time. Well, he's not really there, but he is and he isn't there.
yeah.
So we know he's, as you may aware, we saw with White Vision, the Vision is potentially, well, back in the MCU. Please, I
Yeah.
hope he is. But yeah, but in a sense, it felt right. It didn't feel like, it felt like it's what it needed to be.
Yeah.
And I'm super excited to kind of see what Scarlet Witch, now that we're finally saying that name, she's literally now known as the Scarlet Witch, like what her story brings and how her character goes further in the MCU. So yeah, I feel it felt right. It didn't feel like what it needed to be. What was your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I'm the same for you as well. And I think the more I kind of have thought about it as the days gone by today, is that I'm someone that hasn't read any of the comics, any Marvel comics, any DC comics. It's just something I never got into. So I think, coming even from that standpoint, I've seen throughout the weeks, these past 9 weeks, people's theories on, like, are we going to get House of M? Are we going to be getting Mephisto? Are we going to getting this and that from, this happened in the comics? So maybe it's, and, for me, just kind of watching it, I was like, I mean, I don't know that it's going to do that. I don't know that it's not going to do that. But for me, it's like, it never needed to do that. I never had that expectation, I suppose, So when it got to this finale, I was really happy that it was just this self-contained story and that it didn't necessarily break up into a wider phenomenon. And it kind of was very reminiscent to me of phase one of the MCU, where every film was very self-contained,
Yeah.
and it was the post-credit scene that then linked in the foundations to something bigger. And I think that's kind of what happened in this final episode. We had that the mid-credit scene and the post-credit scene here as well, so we could see, how things are beginning to build beyond that. So yeah, I was happy that it ended self-contained. And
Yeah.
I like what you're saying about White Vision as well, because I've never been one for just resurrecting a character exactly how they were. For me, it just kind of always feels a bit weak. And so I like that even though we might have a full Vision back in the universe again, it's not the exact same Vision. There is something different about him, and he will govern himself in a different way.
That's very true. What were your thoughts on the post-credit scenes?
I mean, they didn't give much away, really, did they? They were just kind of a way of trying to establish where people are going next, I suppose. So, I mean, did I expect that Monica would be going? I mean, it seems like she's going to be going up to space. I don't know. I guess my assumption was that if she was to meet up with Carol again, Carol would be coming down to Earth, but maybe it's going to be the other way around. So that could be quite interesting for Captain Marvel too. But I guess there will also be a part of it that it will need to be on Earth, because they're going to have Miss Marvel in it as well. So
that's true.
Who knows where it's going to go? But yeah, and then I mean, I quite like the post credit scene, just to see her, because that climactic fight with Agatha Harkness and Wanda showing that actually it ain't just about power. I've been listening to what you're saying, and I'm learning, and now she's going deep into making sure she knows. And so it's got me very interested for when she joins Doctor Strange, because supposedly she's more powerful than the Sorcerer Supreme, and currently the Sorcerer Supreme is Doctor Strange. So that's going to be very interesting. What are your thoughts on them?
Very kind of exciting, and you can definitely now see the kind of tie-ins and the kind of where there's room for kind of possibilities. So with the Monica Rambeau one and seeing the scroll, that can open that's opening so many doors now. And obviously, and there was obviously that running theory throughout the whole series, like, oh, who's this aerospace engineer that Monica Rambeau knows, and everyone was constantly saying, oh, Reed Richards, and thinking, and you're thinking maybe it still is, because in the comics, I'm not sure if you're aware, Elliot, but like the Skrulls and the Fantastic Four, they were always kind of at it, like kind of head and toes. So there is, maybe the Skrulls are one of the reasons why the kind of Fantastic Fours are introduced into it. There's that possibility. So it's like, I like how the kind of Marvel have done, like, made the kind of connections and kind of like it's kind of all the kind of puzzles together. So done very well with that. The second one where we kind of see Wanda is just, I was just thinking that, I wasn't gonna say that's scary. It was a little bit scary. I was just thinking, okay, so maybe this is how they're going to tie in kind of like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, because if that, I don't think it'll be like Wanda. I think Wanda is very much kind of in control, not fully, but like she kind of is aware of her power. That I don't think it won't be like a catastrophic, like the Hex again. I don't think it will be like that. But it was it just up for possibilities is basically where I'm kind of I'm not sure what the answer is, but you know what? I'm for it. I'm here.
Sure. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the knock-on effect is and how that pushes the plot of Doctor Strange. Does something rip at Westview that's what gets Doctor Strange's attention? Has he been monitoring this all along the whole time, and he's just decided he doesn't need to act yet? So I think that's it. Like, the fact that he hasn't turned up doesn't necessarily mean that he's not already involved in some way. And that's what's always lovely about the MCU, is that we know that somewhere, it can always easily feed into what's going to happen next. It doesn't necessarily have to happen straight away. Just going to bring in a comment here from Ross, because I think, you know, he's kind of along the same lines as us here, saying, I enjoyed it a lot, don't get me wrong. I think that people got their hopes up because of all the theories online.
Yeah.
I think that's very true. And I think, you know, it doesn't mean to say that, I've sat here and said I've not read the comics, so I didn't have that expectation. It's not to say that people who had that expectation are in the wrong. Not at all. Like, it's really fun to speculate where a show is going to go, because that's why, that's why we watch these things, especially week to week. It's that intrigue that keeps us coming back for more. So, but I think, because none of those theories didn't come true doesn't mean it, the show faltered anyway or didn't live up to maybe what it was promised. We don't know yet. I also think a lot of things we need to take into account is what the initial release order of all these projects were, and how that's been shaken up. This was supposed to come out after Black Widow and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, wasn't it? As far as I remember.
Yeah, can't remember. Very true. Yes. That's very true. I think. Correct me. I believe it was after Black Widow. I think the initial plan was like the Falcon and the Winter Soldier was to come after. I could be wrong, but I think that was a general plan. But obviously, something happened, and then everything's just been like this, just been pushed back a little. So yeah.
Sure.
But yeah,
awesome. Yeah. No, I get you.
It's definitely. Yeah, going on to kind of what Ross was saying, it's good to kind of theorize. And also, I just want to kind of say to audiences that won't just kind of say to everyone, like, it's not necessarily like, it didn't happen in the series, but not to say that, it couldn't potentially happen. Who to say like Mephisto might not show up in the MCU? Like, he could.
Yeah.
I mean, we're definitely getting a Fantastic Four movie. The director for Spider-Man is directing that. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I know he's directing.
I can't remember either. Yeah.
John something. He's a John. I mean, but yeah, that's all I know. But we've got we've got a lot of things to look forward to, and I kind of feel kind of hopeful for the MCU. And I just want to say they done for their first kind of live action series. They're here at the park. Like, this was
mate,
what a good start.
Right. So good. Actually, I kind of just remembered something else actually in that post credit scene, because we heard the voices of Billy and Tommy again right at the end. So again, that's I'm correct in saying with Mephisto, Wanda makes a deal with him in terms of the kids, right? Or he holds them captive. What's to say that isn't maybe something that's happened here? Just then, through the magic, she's been able to hear them again. I don't know. Who knows what is going on at Marvel Studios? Because if we try and guess everything that they're planning, we could be here for absolute years.
Yeah, I think I'm quite confident with Kevin Feige behind the steering wheel. I think he's steering it in a pretty good direction, and I'm quite happy. And like what I've seen so far, I was thinking, okay, this is good, and we're here for it. So just keep it coming. Just like I think it's just a process, just be optimistic. And I don't think many audience members would agree. We don't want everything just all at once. So it's just kind of like weighing in and kind of like making us learn, and just kind of us to read the story or view the story in that kind of sense. So
yeah, exactly. Nice, man. All right. So that is the first show then to add to the Your Weekend Watchlist playlist is WandaVision. If you've not watched it yet and you were waiting for the whole series to be released on Disney Plus so you could do a massive binge, now is your time. And boy, I hope you have a lot of fun as we did with it. But let's move on to our next show, our next film or show for the Weekend Watchlist playlist. And this is coming from you, Ty, and it is The Boys. So tell me, why did you want to bring The Boys to the Your Weekend Watchlist playlist?
Reasons being is that I love what kind of The Boys have done. That, ladies and gentlemen, fair warning is just, if you're going into this thinking, oh, this is for all the family, no, it's not. It is for kind of more mature-ish kind of audiences. So I'm just fair warning. But it's brilliant. I think I love the
Mm.
kind of the characters, I love what the style of it. I just like this idea that we're living in a world that just kind of like how superheroes are not necessarily super. They're just like the bad people. They're just like
Yeah.
you last people in the world you would want to be superheroes, and
Yeah.
it's just great, and it just makes me think, damn, if we would this kind of reflect society in a way, sort of like thinking if we actually had superheroes, they would be like this, and the kind of like how they represented, just kind of like, oh, and the way they're implementing things kind of like social media into that kind of respect, kind of
Mm.
like, oh, A Train has got so much, you're trending on Twitter, it's kind of like thinking, this is like, yeah, that would happen. Why are we being behind the bush? But yeah, it's raw. It's not afraid to literally just go there, and especially the last
Mm.
season two. Like, are you up to date with it, Elliot?
So I have watched up to episode 4 in season 1. So I've
Oh,
not watched any of season 2 yet.
okay, so not there's a not gonna like there's a bit in season 2. Let's just say, okay, I'm not gonna give anything away, but like there is a lot of kind of things there was a lot of kind of racial kind of stuff that kind of like, and
Mhm.
especially with one particular character, and
Yeah.
many audiences didn't really like that. Like, some viewers just kind of went, oh, complained about it. But however, some audience was just like, you know what, I think we kind of needed something like that to kind of like, just to kind of be like,
Yeah.
just just to kind
Bring it
of,
into the conversation.
definitely, exactly, that's what kind of like, and kind of have that realization,
Yeah.
and there was a moment where that it's just like this kind of like this person. I'm not gonna go too much into detail, but like some of like the main characters, they're literally just like beating that person up. Just thinking, oh yes, thinking it's like that, like they're beating up the racists. I'm thinking, oh yes, yes. I'm not sure if it's a moment to celebrate, but yeah, you know what? Let's celebrate. And it's just
Right.
definitely, but it's kind of like, and the boys what my kind of mainly just kind of the appeal for me. It's literally not afraid to go there. It's
Yeah.
gory. It's got violence. It's just, I don't, you, and each episode is very unpredictable. You don't know what can happen. It can take any kind of deeper turn, and
Mm.
a great cast, a very quite well diverse cast, I might say. Carl Urban, for those who, Carl Urban, he's been in everything. He's been in the Marvel MCU. He was
Yeah.
Judge Dredd. He's in the Star Trek, Dr. Scotty, and Lord of the Rings. Carl Urban, he's been around.
Yeah, man, he's been there, isn't he? It's great to see him in this kind of role, because after you've seen him in like Lord of the Rings and Star Trek, which is slightly more watered down in comparison, shall we say?
Yeah.
And I think he suits this kind of role really well. Actually, it looks like he's just kind of been let off a leash to have a bit of fun,
Yeah.
and I think he takes that into his stride quite nicely. Yeah, I mean, look, from the first 4 episodes I've watched, I the concept I think is absolutely brilliant, and I think where I'm at right now is I'm wanting it to delve deeper into that corporate side of heroship, and how already I'm kind of seeing the ways in which Homeland is starting to break those shackles and not be controlled, and just I think he's already kind of said the words, I want to do whatever I want to do, like I should be, I've got this power, why can't I just be who I want to be? And so yeah, I'm interested to see where his character goes. I think the last thing I had really happen was him and Queen Maeve in the aeroplane. I had that scene, which which I thought was, I was like, okay, well now we're going somewhere with this show. Now we're starting to taste something interesting here. So
now we're talking.
yeah. I thought So yeah, I mean, it's kind of for me a bit slow, but I can see where it's going to go, and so I'm like, I want to get to that bit, and
Yeah.
I know then that I will definitely fall in love with this show, because I think it's the foundation is there, as I say, I just love the concept of corporate superhero-ness. It's just, it's exactly the world we live in, and you can definitely see it would go that way, or there's a reality, and definitely it would go that way if superheroes were ever a real thing. So
Yeah,
yeah, man.
it just kind of shows us that realization. I was thinking, was that really what it'd be like? And thinking, I think all of us have kind of just dreamt one, thinking, what a world would be with superheroes. What would that actually be like? And thinking,
Yeah.
maybe it's not all sunshine and roses. Thinking, so that's how it's like. Oh, but yeah, but honestly, just The Boys is I highly recommend, and a very quite diverse cast. Like the actual Boys itself, you got Carl Urban, you got I can't remember all the actors' names, but Hugh, Huey is played by Jack Quaid.
Yeah.
His father is Dennis Quaid.
Simon Pegg. Yeah.
Simon Pegg. Yeah, shout out to him. And Mother's Milk, Frenchie, a French actor, and Kimiko is. Oh wait, crap! Have you been introduced to Kimiko?
Yeah, don't worry about like introduction of characters, man. That's fine. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I was just thinking. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The introduction is fine. Yeah, I was thinking, how would that affect the story? Thinking, by Karen Fukunaga, she's awesome, just great.
So I've got the cast list up here. See if I can zoom in on it. Here we are. Lovely. Yeah, so we got Carl Urban and Jack Quaid there. You're right, man. It's stat like, Mother's Milk, Laz Alonso. He's a great character. I've enjoyed him so far.
And I think Queen Maeve is actually Dominique McElligott. I think she's Irish.
Yeah, right here. Yeah, McElligott, you would assume would be it's quite a Gaelish name, isn't it? So
yeah,
nice, man. Yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of fun so far, I have to say. And I loved seeing Elizabeth Shue in there as well. Starts, just after having watched Cobra Kai again as well. I was like, yay! Yeah, that was a lot of fun to see her.
Thinking, Elizabeth Shue thinking, I've not seen you in a while. I was thinking, it's little 80s kind of nostalgia. Thinking, I like that. Thinking, I know you. Like,
awesome, man. Yeah, no, The Boys has been a lot of fun. I do look forward to catching more of that. Awesome. So that has been The Boys then to add into the weekend watch list playlist. But let's now jump into, I guess, sort of our main sort of discussion topic area today, and that is on diversity and representation. It's kind of what I do here on the channel. If you are new to the channel and you don't know that, Hakuna MaChatter is a diversity and representation in film and TV discussion channel. Now, you have brought something interesting to discuss today when it comes to diversity and representation, and it's actually something I've not tackled on the channel before. And so when you brought it up, I was like, okay, let's see how we work with this, because I think it's, we need to, it's important to have these kind of discussions and talking about what is the end, kind of like the end goal with diversity and representation. Is there an end goal?
Yeah.
And in knowing that, is there a way in which it ever can go too far? So I guess my kind of main question to you with that then is for starters, what has prompted you to wanted to discuss this particular area of it today? And are there any sort of examples to go along with that where you feel that we're maybe stepping into a way that we're maybe pushing too hard at this?
Yeah. Well, I think we're kind of like a prime example that I can kind of think of is just that, I'm all for diversity, like more diverse roles, more diverse casting, I'm for it. And I think with like it's certain things I just kind of noticed kind of like in the media and such, and to look back kind of, to one of the movies, X-Men: The Dark Phoenix, there was a particular scene there with Jennifer Lawrence, and it was her and James McAvoy who obviously played Professor X. And I don't know, it was just a line that it was just like, I don't know, it just it never really kind of sit well with me. But I don't know, some people just I mean, you find it's a joke, or like any other people gonna find it's a joke, but like it's just what you said. Like I think it was along the lines of like Yeah, you should think about calling this group the X-Woman, you know, because
Mm.
there's a lot of women doing a lot of stuff on this team. You know, you should think about calling it the X-Woman. I was just thinking, like the audience laughed, and I was just thinking, I was just looking, thinking, I didn't really find that funny, but it's like, okay, but it's just like, you know, it's stuff like that. It's not that me saying, you know, it's thinking, you know, it's just a little kind of pains, but it's just kind of like, it just makes you thinking, okay, well, if the kind of roles were kind of reversed, like, would James McAvoy's character able to say that? It's kind of like thinking, it's like, would he be like, it's just like, I don't know, it's like stepping out of line. It's just like, I'm all kind of like forward, like diversity, but like when kind of going too far, it's just kind of like, you know, not kind of like stepping on, like, I guess the little guy is what I'm kind of saying. And, you know, I'm not stepping on others is kind of like the main thing. It's just
right.
Yeah. But yeah, well, I'm trying to think of another example, like where is just it could in all kind of variances, you know, it just all depends, I think, because there's always been the kind of discussion when we've had like well-known-ish characters, like, you know, to name prime example, like thinking like, so people didn't take well to when I think I don't Errol has obviously been casted by a black actress. I think not much people kind of took to that very well, and it was just like, oh, is this and that, and kind of people. In actual fact, you know, the Ariel's was not the kind of defined by her race, her skin, and her ethnicity and whatnot. And like, but like, yeah, it's just that kind of, it's just that question mark. It's just thinking,
yeah,
you know, thinking, oh, but like, if that was done, if we did that to, like, you know, if we changed Black Panther to white, thinking, there was always just thinking, well, that wouldn't really make sense, because, you know, African Prince of Wakanda, thinking, yeah, that wouldn't make sense. So it's just like, I think it can, yes, diversity can sometimes go a bit too far, but like, you know, it's like, sometimes, you know, you have to remember the bubble in the kind of sense. So sometimes in some areas it's like, it's okay, you know, it works. If it works, it works. Like a prime example that I can think of where in this kind of case, like the Flash, Joe West, obviously in the comics was a white character, but he was casted by, can't remember the actor's name, but he plays Joe very well. It was Joe West, and yeah, it suits, it works, and it's that kind of case. So yeah. Ooh, excuse me, I feel like I've been talking for ages.
No, I'm listening, because, you know, as I said, like, this was what you wish to discuss. So it's you know, I'm wanting to listen to see, you know, to understand you know, what it is you feel. And so yeah, man, don't worry about speaking for too long, man. We're here to listen to your thoughts. And I think it is a really interesting discussion on the whole. Like, I mean, I've not seen Dark Phoenix yet, but I did hear about that line and about, you know, sort of the grievances people took towards it. And I was thinking about it the other night, and I was like, I kind of have like a split opinion about it in a way, because I can get, it always depends as to how, when you're bringing in changes like that, something that has always been X-Men, for example, and when you're kind of bring in, oh, maybe we should change it to X-Women, and it's kind of like, I get why people go, yeah, but why? But then it's also important, how is it then delivered? If it's delivered as a throwaway joke in a film, it kind of, it equates it to me, at least, of it just being a mouthpiece rather than an actual thing that's going to happen with an actual reasoning behind it. It's just kind of for me, it just kind of is a wink to the audience to going, hey, what if we called it the X-Women? Would you like that? You know, rather than going, look, we're going to do it, and we're going to do it because of this.
Yeah.
You know, and look, you know, does the X-Men need a name change? I don't know, because my understanding of the X-Men mainly comes from the 90s cartoon, which amazing cartoon. And particularly if we're looking at female representation within that cartoon, it was always for me personally, I always felt it was quite decent. The fact that, you know, Rogue, Jean, and Storm were all and Jubilee, sorry, were always, you know, prime members of the team during that cartoon. So it's not as if women have been ever underrepresented within the X-Men. Although also on the other side, the fact that it's always been labeled the X-Men, you know, does it just kind of, does it limit, does that feel limited in a way? Does it bring an idea that the men maybe are more important in that team than the women are? That might not necessarily be the case, but does the name give that idea? So yeah, I mean, look, it was kind of some news went around today that the MCU are already working on their project and they're calling it the Mutants. So, you know, that doesn't necessarily mean that the team will be called the Mutants, but the film is called the Mutants because they're introducing the Mutants. So, you know, is that a better way of just maybe moving away from the X-Men name? It's going, well, hang on a minute. It's still about that set of characters, but we're not starting with the team. We're starting before that. And so we're going to usher it in slowly, or find, you know, you know, so it's, do you know what I mean? It's kind of finding, for me, it's finding the ways in, if you're going to change it, find a way in which it works and which there is a payoff for a greater majority of audience. Look, the thing is, no matter what change happens, not everyone is going to be pleased by it. Not everyone is going to be happy with it. So we can't sit here and go, what's the solution that's going to get 100% satisfaction? There isn't one. That let's straight up say there just isn't one. So no, I think it's it is an interesting conversation to have. But, you know, and I think it also comes down to, you know, as I say, what is the goal when it comes to diversity and representation? Is it about getting more and more and more female actors and directors and people behind camera, to the point of where they are then overrepresented, and the same with minoritized race people as well? Or something I've kind of been slowly looking into recently is, well, what about proportionate representation? Something that is equal to the population, you know, of Hollywood or of the UK or of the world. So yeah, it kind of all ties into that, really, like what, you know, so it's an interesting one, you know. But at the moment, you know, what was it? I think I saw something recently that when it comes to Hollywood, so women in the United States made up 50.4% of the population. Yet when it came to directors and writers in Hollywood, I think for every 10 writers, less than 2 were women, and the same with directors as well. So you know, when you're looking at like that, you're like, oh, okay, so there are more women in the United States, but they're vastly outnumbered as directors and writers. And so, you know, when we try and push for greater representation on and off screen at the same time, I've always kind of said, it always feels like that right now the cis white man is here and everyone else is kind of floating around here. And as we're pushing it more and more, because we're pushing everyone else, you know, to be equal or proportionate, let's say proportionate, because I don't, you know, there's too many different types of people for us to be equal on everything. But proportionate representation, you know, it feels like right now that we're pushing above cis white men. And I kind of get why people have grievances, because that's how it feels, when the reality is we're just pushing for that proportionate representation. But yeah, but I agree with you. Like, if you have lines like that in Dark Phoenix that are a bit of a throwaway joke, it's kind of a bit like, what are we doing here? Like, you know, why are we messing with the formula in this way? Yeah. I don't know. What are your thoughts on some of that?
And it kind of with that, because I read somewhere that J-Lo actually kind of just like, you know, just improv it and just kind of like, it wasn't really
right.
And then I remember something thinking, well, that's also a bit funny, because like Bryan Singer was actually not back to direct that last movie. It was Simon Kinberg, I think I'm pronouncing his name right. He produced many more films, like especially some of the X-Men movies as well with Singer. So it was that kind of like his nose. And also bear in mind, this was also Simon's, I think he was his first kind of directorial debut. And I think, I don't know, I'm probably just speculating. I'm just thinking of scenarios, but I'm Simon. I'm just kind of like, it's my first kind of day out, my first kind of like directing kind of like, this is kind of like my break. And, we got, like J-Law, who she's one of the biggest kind of names in Hollywood, she does have that kind of stature. And, who am I to kind of like say, oh, you can't say this, kind of like, or if you're like, yeah, it kind of, I'm probably just thinking of like just big scenarios.
No worries, no, yeah.
Like, oh, listen, hey, if I don't say this line, then I'm walking, I'm gone. Thinking, that probably was not the. I'm just speculating. It was in a way, it could happen. Hey, I mean, me and you, Elliot, are actors. I've never been kind of like on a film set, but I know that I've heard kind of stories, where it's just kind of like, like you kind of have to kind of impress, and you kind of have to kind of go with the kind of process, and it's kind of what feels naturally. And these kind of like stories and scenarios, they're not completely impossible. They can happen. So it's just, it does make me at times like wanting to kind of get into the industry. It does like make me a little bit kind of cautious and worried, and like it has to kind of make me feel like what I can say and what I can't say, and it's just hoping that I won't kind of like offend anyone, because like end of the day I don't want to like lose my job or anything, though I need to do this. So it's that but with I lost my train of thought. I was thinking what was I gonna say? It's just that, but yeah, with like, oh yeah, kind of rounding back to what you were saying about, it's like kind of what we kind of say in kind of movies, and kind of like what's the goal, what's your aim, what are you trying to gain from this. Is just that it does, it makes me question, it makes me go, I'm not really for it. In general, with the whole JLo line, I personally was a bit like, it's like, it's funny. I see what you did there. I was just like, But end of the day, it just also made me kind of just thought in my head, thinking, wait a minute, what would you want from me? Is there something that you want? And and if it kind of in a way helps a young girl kind of inspired to kind of like, get into kind of filmmaking or kind of acting or become an actress, then hey, I guess they did it successfully. But I guess there's just certain ways of kind of doing it. Like, do you see where I spent well?
No, I see exactly where you're coming from.
I feel like I'm making sense.
But I think we're on the same wavelength with it though as well. Like it's and I think that goes up for even what you're saying about when we race swap characters as well, which I think has always been a sort of an interesting debate, because again, it's one that I see both sides of. I see the idea that the people get upset that it's tokenizing minoritized race people, and we talk about why not just write these new stories and these new characters and have something really interesting. And yes, I mean, we all want that. Don't ever for one minute think that people don't want that. There is just Hollywood is just such an interesting place in that it lines itself up with these progressive views on the surface, but bubbling underneath, there's just so much dishonesty and back and forth that it's struggling to sort of figure out exactly what it is. Like, we want these new stories, but half of the scripts that get given to the top producers that that have these new stories, they're probably not even getting through at the moment, and that's what the issue is. And so then a big company will go, well, look, we can't get the new script through, or we don't want to get the new script through, but we'll just change this person instead. And I guess here's my thing with it is, and and going back to your point about why we'll never change Black Panther, will we? Well, no, of course we won't, because here's another thing: many minoritized race characters, their race is sewn into their identity, and it becomes a large part, or the culture of the character. And it becomes like with Black Panther, with Moana, with Tiana from Princess and the Frog, like all these things, like it's sewn so firmly into who they are and what their story is about. Whereas there's a lot of white characters that haven't had that, because
Yeah.
Why would they? Because white in the Western society is the normal. So you wouldn't write necessarily about their experience of race. I'm sure there are projects out there, and I'm sure someone can write in the chat a project out there that does that. But
Mm.
that's why it's kind of easier, especially within comic books as well, to race swap those characters, or with Disney films to race swap those characters, because their race hasn't been intrinsically linked, and it kind of never has either. So
Yeah, that's very
yeah. So yeah, it's an interesting one, and it's, I think in some of our emails before going ahead of this, you mentioned about James Bond as well, and I think it kind of almost stands there as well. Should
Mm.
James Bond be a minoritized race actor? Should so they play him? I mean, why not? Again, it's James Bond's race has never been integral to his character. The only reason James Bond is white is because a white man wrote about it initially, putting himself into the story. Again, it kind of, it comes down to people's what is it? They're just their perspective. It comes down to their perspective.
Yeah.
Ian Fleming's perspective was, I see myself as a super spy, so I'm going to write that story.
Yeah.
So would we besmirch his memory on that? Potentially, of course.
That's very interesting. I never kind of like had that kind of outlook of it. And, in a sense, maybe having taken that next step, for example, having like a black James Bond, perhaps, I don't know, it could potentially, it could inspire, but hopefully like a generation, because
yeah,
I don't know about you, Elliot, but like currently I've been on my performing arts course, and I'm no joke. I'm the only black guy.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
Yeah. No, it's the same for mine. For mine as well. Yeah.
It's like thinking,
well, for my second and third year. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like, wow. It's really like that, is it? And thinking, wow. I thought, but yeah, it's just, I don't know why that is. I just kind of like maybe just, I don't know, simply it's just the route of a performer. It's just not for them, and everyone's different, it's not like we're not forcing, just like it depends like who you are. But yeah, it just likes to think that stuff like that with Black Panther, I love kind of stuff like that, and we having these kind of stories, we're telling like different stories, especially I like what Disney Pixar does with, like, we've got loads of, for example, Coco. We're gonna get Luca.
Yeah.
Is it called Luca next year? Like they're
Luca. Yeah.
Stuff like all these like diverse stories from different worlds, different backgrounds, and thinking.
Yeah.
And to like having different, those actors kind of portrayed it and kind of having their voice and kind of having their say. So in a sense, to kind of I'm not going to round off my question, but like to kind of say, can diversity go too far? I feel it can, in a sense, because I think yes, it can, but and sometimes it does need to kind of like just come back a bit, just take a few steps back. But then I feel, in terms of cinema, it's a slow process, but it's gradually just kind of getting to a kind of like where people can have their voices. And I don't know if one project that I'm quite excited for that Disney is going to do, that I forgot it now, but basically I think it was 3 African artists are working very close with Disney to create this animation called, I don't know what it was named, but it's basically a futuristic kind of like African city, kind of like, it's not like Wakanda. It's not Wakanda, but it's kind of like, it's artists, and they're working really well with Disney. Is thinking, that's what I like to see, kind of like different stories, and obviously different kind of creators, and that all of the writers are Black and from African descent. So it's thinking, this is hopeful. So I'm thinking, we're getting there. We're the diversity push.
And I think my sort of thing with diversity, because diversity really has always kind of been a numbers game, really, isn't it? It's about like including this person and that person, this person, that person, this person. And I think diversity, if it's a numbers thing, like the only way you therefore improve diversity is by having higher numbers. But that's I think where it stagnates and it does go a bit too far and it doesn't make sense. Whereas if we better the representation and the inclusion, therefore when we then bring in, more people, more diverse people, that's when the diversity is better because it's coming from a place of more authenticity. And like projects like that, as you say, when you have African people working on an African project, well, guess what? Then it means that that project is more authentic and it's more likely to be enjoyed by a wider audience. And therefore will, production companies will go, oh, well, we can make a bit more of that then,
Yeah.
And I think that's when we hopefully diversity, doesn't go too far and actually goes to the place it needs to go.
Yeah, 100%.
Lovely. All right, man. So I think we'll put a line under that one because I think we've got a good lot of that out there, and I think that was
Definitely.
No, I like that. Let's just go to the comments quickly because we have Leo from Geekly Goods who is with us. How you doing, man? Very glad to have you here. Lisa's asking what music I'm into. I'm into a lot of music, I have to say. My favorite band has always been Foo Fighters. So if you want to get an idea there, Foo Fighters. Been listening to the new album. It's taken a while, but I'm into it now. I'm liking it. And then Leo's also saying, if the character's race is not integral to their story, then changing their race to a minority character shouldn't matter much. Why do people get angry about that? Example, if Reed Richards is black, why would someone get mad? Who knows, man? I'm still trying to figure that one out myself.
I think with that, it really kind of does depend, on the character. For example, and also certain characters, we can love them, enjoy them, no matter kind of what. Batman, my favorite superhero of all time.
Yeah.
Would I want a black Bruce Wayne? Not necessarily, and I don't think it would be particularly necessary, and I don't think it necessarily would make sense. I mean, if it happened, I wouldn't be like, oh, but it really depends. We do have a black Batman, we do have that. We also have a black Superman, and it's just kind of with kind of especially superheroes, is that idea that they're becoming more of titles than just kind of restricted to kind of one kind of i.e. a perfect example is obviously having Miles Morales and Val Zod, and so it's kind of it's going back to kind of saying different people can kind of get the different voices, and we can aim to a certain oh, sorry. God, I thought I was gonna sneeze, and then I was like, no, I'm gonna cough. What am I gonna do? Choose one, two. Sorry, it's it was confusing in my head. But it just depends of it if it aims at any demographic, but obviously the main objective of these characters and of these stories is it's there for everyone. So, but it's just the process. Just the process, I guess, and just hope.
No, I get you mean.
Definitely.
I get what you mean. Nice, man. All right, well, let's move on to the next show in your weekend watch list, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm bringing forward Netflix's Grand Army, which I just finished the other night. And this show, it's a weird one. It's taken me. Well, I've been watching along with my girlfriend, and it's taken us actually a couple months to watch all 9 episodes. It's 9 episodes. Wow. We've kind of taken a slow watch on it. I think because it's a heavy show. It deals with a lot of things that it's difficult to binge, as it were, because I think of the content of the show. I know you said in backstage before we went live that you've caught the first episode, and so you'll know that it literally. I mean, it starts heavy as well. It literally starts with kind of one of the biggest just global issues, even let alone for a small, a small scale story. So, but what I love most about it, these are our 5 main characters that we see here. We have, and I think, the fact that it gives the space, we're talking about diversity and about representation and about, how do we keep it authentic? How do we not? And I think here, the fact that we have a different array of people and the show spotlights and follows them in their own storylines. And I think that's what the most important thing is, and what it helps its authenticity is that it follows them in their own storylines, which I really enjoy. And if you go further into the show, Ty, you'll sort of see that. But there are some issues around it, though, which has kind of been interesting, which, I kind of, it brings into a larger sort of topic, and it's about, how actually do we separate the art from the artist? So I don't know if you know, with Grand Army, but the creator of the show, she was actually pulled up in some accusations of racial harassment to some of the other writers on the show.
Okay.
And I've not been able to see if anything's been resolved from that yet. Actually, after finishing, we Googled to see if series 2 was on the way, and it's not yet been announced. And so there was also speculation as to how much those accusations will keep up with it. So I think just on that with Grand Army, what are your thoughts just in general, on separating the art from the artist? Do you ever feel it's something you've been able to do, or do you feel like once someone has done something, you step away from the projects they've been in previously, or yeah?
Very interesting question. I think, it's I'd like that's a very tricky one. So I think one example that I can think of, that I'm just thinking of examples, is obviously with J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Not the biggest Harry Potter fan, just putting it out there, but I appreciate them for what they are. And it's that, it's odd because because when I grew up with them, I kind of saw them kind of here and there, and it's not really kind of, and I don't know, for kind of knowing kind of what J.K. Rowling has done and kind of said, it's not made me go I'm not really kind of thought about it. It's just kind of is this in that sense, because I'm not kind of going, and I think if I was a big kind of Harry Potter goer fan, and kind of to the fandom, because the fandom is quite big, and it gets a lot of kind of, so I think that's the kind of magical thing of kind of cinema storytelling, is just that we kind of fall in love with their characters, and the character and their work, is kind of what that is kind of shows for them, and the person that they are. It's just that it shouldn't really reflect in that state, and I'm just it is that very difficult kind of thing. It's just how do I word this? How do I kind of say, I'm not saying that I'm not bothered, but it's something I kind of should be bothered about, because it's just no, but
I get what you mean, though, because it's it's that work inspired generations of people, those books and those films. And I think particularly when it comes to the films, at least, there are so many thousands of people that also worked on it, and so it's well, do we discredit their work as well? But at the same time, what J.K. Rowling did, I kind of always like the sentiment of the first, never worry about the first thought that comes into your head. The first thought that comes into your head is a condition of society.
Yeah.
But your next thought, or the thing that you then say, that's your fault. And that's, and if it's bad, you have to own that. Yeah. And I think that's the problem with J.K. Rowling, is that she never owned it. She kept going and going and going, and she's ruined the series for so many people that loved it. Yeah. And it's tainted it for me. It really has. The fact that, she can say one thing, and then when she's schooled on it multiple times, she still digs that hole. That's kind of where the issue has really arisen. And I guess, for me going forward, when it comes to separating the art from the artist, I'm look, I might not buy anything again that's going to line your pockets, and so I might just, if I really am bothered about, let's say, watching the next Fantastic Beasts film or buying the new Harry Potter game, like I might just skip it, and instead I might just look at the thoughts and opinions of the people who are still going to watch it and who are still going to play it and be like, all right, cool. That's how I learn about it going forward. But yeah, it's an interesting one. But anyway, let's bring it back to Grand Army. And you watched the first episode, so we can at least definitely talk about that. What were your thoughts on the show from what you'd seen so far?
Confusing. Well, I was at first it's just like okay, and then I just it was just like just with the characters, I can't remember any of the characters' names, but they did struck out. Just thinking, they clearly have been well written, and
yeah,
clearly have that present, and it's just like you're thinking, okay, I see you guys, and you're definitely serious, and is that at times I remember it having its heavy moments, is having its kind of up and down, kind of like okay,
yeah,
and okay, and it's like I was like okay, it's like okay, but it was, I'm gonna be honest, Elliot, it's not. I wouldn't say was not my kind of cup of tea, kind of in terms
sure.
of what this, but however, you know what, I'm not gonna say, just because it's not my usual forte, and it's not to say that, because so I'm very indulge into kind of I want to like give it another go and kind of step out of my comfort zone, because I've no kind of things I watch. I just kind of gravitate to kind of just like this one particular genre, but maybe taking a chance, kind of like seeing other kind of avenues and stories, and I think Grand Army is a very good place to start. Confused the hell out of me. I was just thinking, yeah, sure, cool, but yeah, I'm gonna definitely, I'll gander more. I'll see.
Nice.
How many episodes are there? Did you say 9?
It's 9, yeah, 9 altogether.
9, yeah. I can I'm on board for it, but yeah, it's interesting one. It gave me oddly Black Mirror vibes, slightly,
Okay.
here and there, and but I'm trying to remember parts of the episode, but it's just that why is it such a blank? Because like when you recommended it to me, it's just thinking like I was like, okay, yeah, let me watch this, and thinking, well, I might need to watch it again because I just can't. I remember characters. I remember from kind of how A to B, and kind of like I'm kind of in the character's mind thinking how they kind of got to this kind of scenario, but it's just like what actually happened? Thinking, folks, I may not be kind of bigging up Grand Army, but from what my memory, it is heavy. It's kind of, if you like, kind of like the word, if you like a bit of like a good old mindish kind of fuck, then I think Grand Army is still the kind of thing for you. But
yeah, definitely. And the way it expands further in is if you also are very into socio-political conscious TV and programming, it really evolves and develops into that. And particularly the last image at the end of the last episode, like what it leaves you on for the end of that first season.
Yeah.
Oh, trust me. It's very much worth sticking around just to see that last image. And yeah, again, if you like that socio-political conscious stuff, it will hit you that way, and it's very good for that. Yeah, man, cool. So that is Grand Army into the weekend watch list playlist. So let's move on to our next, and this again was brought by yourself, Ty. And I mean, if people haven't watched this yet, they have a real problem, if that's fair to say. But you're bringing in Soul. Soul, Pixar Soul. Ty, why are we talking Pixar Soul today? Why is this in the recommendation? Bring it to me.
Damn. Where do I start? Soul was it made me think, I was thinking, oh wow, it's well, Soul was on my top 10 movies of 2020 for starters,
Nice.
and it came in at, we'll see, it came in at number 7. Soul came, but it just, well, starting with the story, it follows our good man here, as you see on the screen, Joe. His name was, right?
Joe, yeah.
Yeah, Joe is a kind of aspiring jazz musician. You know, jazz is his passion. You know, he's kind of lived and breathed jazz, but then, you know, he kind of like escapes and kind of steps into this kind of world, and it kind of just goes through that, and it's just real, like real. Oh, trying to find the words. It's just it's a great kind of sense of relief. It kind of like, you know, a story and movie that kind of, you know, kind of portrays and kind of shows a demographic for like diversity, you know, like showing different kind of like black characters, and also it's like kind of, yeah, I think Pixar does kind of always kind of do that with us. You know, they put their little lessons in here and there, kind of like just like teach us, you know, enjoying the little things, you know, this theme of kind of, you know, expressing yourself, kind of, and show that. But yeah, it's just a really enjoyable watch, you know, something for all the family. You know, I couldn't, like, I don't. There's nothing really I can really fault about this movie. You know? And hey, it's got good laughs, good comedies. You know, Jamie Foxx is as always. You know, and Tina Fey, she brings the comedy as well. So banging at that. But yeah, it was just, and yeah, yes, Pixar, they do good. They do.
Yeah.
They do bits. You know, they tip their hats when they can. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's a very life-affirming film, isn't it, really? It's just kind of, and I think for a lot of people, certainly, it just came at that right time, you know, when we were deep in that lockdown over Christmas, and it was like, look, you know, let's just chill out, and we enjoy the little things in life. We don't need to worry about where we're going currently and where we've been. And yeah, I think that was a beautiful side of it. I actually kind of had, I came into the film with an expectation of how it was going to go that was then very different of what the film was. And so at first I wasn't necessarily sure of it, but when I sort of, you know, was watching other people's reviews and thoughts and opinions and on Twitter and on Instagram, et cetera, I was like, okay, yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. And I actually managed to, watch a Q&A with Pete Docter, one of the co-directors. That was through BAFTA, and it was interesting what he was saying about how about the process of even just writing Soul, and it sort of was similar for him when he was writing Inside Out as well, in saying that, you know, he was sat here writing a story about a black character, writing about Joe, and then he kind of went, oh, I don't know how to write about a black character because I have not had the same lived experience as them. So that's when, you know, obviously they brought in Kent Powers to help with the script writing. They brought in Questlove. They brought in John Baptiste for the music. And not only that, but he sort of, when he's saying that, actually, we gathered, you know, we sort of sent an email out to our colleagues at Pixar and said, you know, look, if you would like to come and discuss this with us, if this is your lived experience and you'd like to come and discuss this with us, please, we want to know, because we want to get this right. And yeah, I think those moments, you know, and everyone will always point the barbershop, but you know, those moments, I think, you know, they really stuck out. The barbershop scene was just so, I was, you know, it's kind of, yeah, it was, wasn't it? It was just chilled out, and just like, you're just kind of watching it. You're like, you know, even here in the UK, I'm like, yeah, that's just how it be sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
It's just,
you felt everyone... like barbershop, weren't you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was so, yeah, it was so lovely. Yeah. No, I think it's still kind of, you know, there's a little trope though with some animation films where the minoritized race character is being, you know, taken at the out of body experience. If I bring the post back up, how we see that, you know, Joe starts off like this and then is straight into his soul form. And I think when I first saw the trailer, and this is what I'm saying, I went to that expectation, I was a bit like, oh, come on, not another one. But, you know, you watch it and they do a good job of still bringing that black culture forward, and
Oh
that's
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of what I wanted. And yeah, no, it's
That showing some of the jazz kind of elements,
yeah. Oh, the animation when he plays his evening at the jazz club, and the animation of the sax player. She literally, the way they lit her, she literally looked like she was real. Like it. My eyes were like double taken. Like, what is going on here? Man, it
yeah,
was good.
yeah. And it really, it just, no, it just felt smooth. It just felt, it felt right. It just like,
Yeah,
and it's so much because it was interesting, how you kind of said the kind of like, how we had Joe and he became the little kind of soul kind of thingy. Is thinking, I see what you meant that, and I like there was another example. I think it was the Princess and the Frog, wasn't it?
yeah.
People really like for half the movie she was a frog. I was thinking, oh, it was just like
Yeah,
really, really. It's just like we
yeah.
haven't seen Disney. It's just like, but I guess in a way, if you kind of seeing what kind of Disney are trying to do is just that maybe this was trying to do it, or just maybe it's just me kind of waffling, kind of thinking, but perhaps what they were trying to say, oh, there's always that we all do kind of have like that soul. We all do have that kind of a beautiful kind of spirit inside, and what that kind of makes us live, what kind of gets us up in the morning, what kind of
Yeah,
where our kind of passion and our dreams can kind of take us. And
yeah.
sometimes we can lose that, and obviously something where they did references to soul, like some people can be lost that, but however you can set you free, and then you just kind of wonder. And then I think it did show the kind of beautifulness of Joe's character, and then we
Yeah.
definitely saw that, and as it progressed, and then but that's just me kind of speculating, thinking that's probably not like Disney was just like, yeah, let's do that, like
Yeah, we got this.
we got the
No, it's a great film, and yeah, I think it's. I definitely need to watch it again at least, anyway, to now that I can go in with that fresh expectation on it as well, and not be buoyed down by my pre-expectations. I'm just going to go to the chat quick because Eric Thorpe has joined the chat, and he said, just shot my review for the finale, for WandaVision finale, still processing it. Will WandaVision be the new Iron Man 3 in terms of divisiveness? Let's see. Let's find out. What did Iron Man 3, where does it stand for you?
Iron Man 3. Oh, what in terms of like what? I thought, yeah, actually, I've got. No, I've got.
Did you enjoy it?
I've not seen it. I've got to remember that. Yeah, the Mandarin part was a bit. Oh, okay, that was a bit disappointing. But overall, I don't know. I kind of liked Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man just kind of being like a kind of man on the run, kind of like. Or less kind of like this kind of super kind of little kind of detective kind of like sort of kind of thingy thing. I know that scene at the end with like the Iron Legion thinking, oh yeah, I like that, and it's just that. But yeah, it's not the best. There's certain things they could have done totally differently, but I wouldn't put it down with the worst. Like, not definitely. No, so it's an okay movie with me.
Okay, yeah, I think it's below average for me. I think certainly the last time I watched it, which was in the run up to Endgame, I was like, oh, actually, and because I was watching it like back to back with everything else as well, so I was like, okay, yeah, no, it's kind of it's better now. Like, I think a lot of people will always say that Tony's PTSD is a highlight from that film, and I have to agree. I thought that was really good, and I almost would have preferred a film that was solely centered around that rather than with everything else going on around with the Mandarin and with Guy Pearce's character. I can't remember his name, but yeah, I don't know. I I think both Ty and Eric, are on the side that WandaVision finale was great and was kind of where it needed to be.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, we've got one more show to talk about before we wrap up, and this is brought by you as well, and it is She-Ra and the Princesses of Power. So, why is She-Ra on this list today?
She-Ra is a very controversial one because
Hmm.
in times people before I watched this, there was that kind of people had very mixed kind of opinions of it, and
Right.
I understand why. But I'm just gonna give the audience just a little context into She-Ra. So for those who don't know, She-Ra was like I loved obviously the 80s, 90s nostalgia, especially He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. And
Yeah.
He-Man and She-Ra are obviously brothers and sisters in the show. And so I didn't watch more of She-Ra. I more or less watched He-Man. But then when I
Yeah.
saw they had this new version, I was thinking, okay, let me just gander it. And then I see some of the reviews, I see some of the kind of forums and kind of online and kind of like on some YouTube videos. And then they've kind of said that, oh, Shira's like, oh, what is this woke fest? You know, it's literally just woke. It's literally like every 2 seconds. I was thinking, it's like, really? Then I
Yeah.
actually watched it for myself, and then I was just like thinking, well, how about that? Like, it hooked me in general. Like,
Hmm.
I could see and kind of understand where people kind of really say, oh, it's woke, because like thinking, but then again, at the same time, it's just like it didn't really bother me because
Yeah.
like, there was one like I don't really see. I was just like, so I was just like, I was enjoying just a good kind of like she was a girl with she's got a sword. She's just this space princess, who's just going around killing robots, fighting Hordak and the horse, thinking, can we just not just enjoy a show? And then, yeah, like the characters, like, and just love them kind of for who they are. And
Yeah.
just, yeah, there was so many, like, yeah, I can, like, one character, Bo, like, he had to,
Hmm.
like, get dads and stuff. It's like, oh, like, that doesn't, does that, am I supposed to complain? What's the complaint about? I was thinking, yeah, I was thinking, I'm just having a fun time just watching She-Ra, just like
Yeah.
when She-Ra just gets a sword, like for the honor of Grayskull, and thinking slash, let's go. And
Yeah.
it's just, yeah, it just made me. It was just an enjoyable watch. I like this when in terms of like this is film. I'm sorry, this show is really kind of right up my alley, and I
Mm.
liked how in this variation they involved a lot more of the princesses because like I in the 80s, they did it was more kind of centered around She-Ra, but they kind of
Right.
incorporated other kind of characters as well. And yeah, it did definitely like push the I would say they kind of push diversity.
Mm.
I in some areas, like I don't know, like it was an animation, so it's a bit like but I think when it comes to diversity, they put the little finger in, which was like, yeah, we'll do this, we'll do that.
Right. Right.
I honestly, I don't. There's not a bad word I could really like in terms of
Mm.
like wokeness, like stuff like that. That stuff didn't really matter to me, like in terms of a show itself. Like I guess like if I had to like one gripe about the show, it's just like maybe I would have like redone the last season very differently. There's certain things I
Right.
would have done kind of like just like kind of adapted it, but in that space. But overall, I highly recommend it. And if you want to
Nice.
see a group of girls just being badasses, man, like this is for the women. Heck, watch
Yeah.
this, man. If you want to see,
It's interesting, isn't it? Like how you're saying a lot of people reacted in terms of wokeness about it, and how earlier on in this discussion on this video we were talking about how people always go, oh, just make a new story, just make a new character. And actually, well, I mean, She-Ra's an established character already.
yeah,
It's a name we already know, and so it's okay, well, we've made a new story and yet people still are complaining. It's kind of interesting. What I heard about it is that it has a lot of queer people, queer characters, and a lot of
Yeah, yeah,
other sexualities, but it's never the sexualities of people or their gender. It's never like centered around that. They just happen to be that within the world. And
yeah, exactly. It carries on the story. It doesn't defy them. It just kind of
yeah,
like, they is we we enjoy just a really
yeah,
brilliant story, and and each episode and each character's own kind of like unique in like their own kind of perspective way.
yeah. And if that is the case, like I mean, I've only been able to watch the first 3 episodes, and I have to say, these first 3 episodes, I'm like, I'm so excited to watch more. I think already, but if that is correct, and that what is what people are probably identifying as this wokeness in the show is actually, well, no, it's the show's not about that. The characters just happen to be that. That's the complete opposite of what wokeness is, surely, because I've always assumed that wokeness is when people just say, we support trans rights without actually supporting trans rights. Like, I
Yeah,
thought that was what that was supposed to mean, and being an SJW as well. So that when you
yeah,
have a show where it's just like, well, yeah, but the point isn't saying, hey, look, we're queer and we're trans. No, 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 no. We don't, like, yes, we are that, but actually we've got all this, we've got like a war to fight. Actually, we've got more important things to be doing and a world to save. And you're just kind of like, surely that, if we took, and again, how we spoke earlier about reaching an endpoint with diversity and representation, surely that is it. Surely She-Ra has actually smashed it out the park.
they really have, and it's just that, it's just something like, that I personally just don't take it into consideration. I'm just there for the
Mm.
story, and
Sure.
I'm just there for the good story. And then what they've done is just they've told of just a really brilliant story. And
Nice.
bear in mind, it is an animation, it's kind of catered to younger audiences, but at the same
Mm.
time, all the family all around to kind of enjoy it at the same
Mm.
time. It's done that brilliant great divide, and it's just, yeah, it's just, people just need to chill out, because like, there was other people, like, they were saying that, oh, I literally, there was a video, I was gobsmacked. I was thinking, oh, the new She-Ra, what the hell is this? She ain't sexy enough. I'm thinking,
Yeah,
but
that's
what?
that's always a one in it. That is always a one.
What you mean? Also, just thinking, what's the show? Like, what's the show? What's the show, man? Like, what the hell, man? It's just like,
Yeah,
excuse
it's
me. Bear in mind, this was a 30-year-old man thinking, isn't She-Ra like 16 in this show? Thinking,
yeah,
that's a bit,
yeah,
that's a bit sus. I was thinking, oh, a bit funny. I was thinking,
yeah, yes, yeah, a bit weird, isn't it? Come on, mate. Just a tad, yeah, just a little. No, it's. I never get why how sexy a character is so important. Like, or well, it's not even that it's important. It's that the only way for a character to be sexy for you is that they show off all this skin and the part, like, just why it has to be for people a point of discussion about a show, unless it is a show that is meant to be sexy, like literally meant to be sexy, then, like, I don't know, maybe Bridgerton or something, then okay, yeah, maybe we can talk about that a little bit. But yeah.
and if you look at the comparison, if you look at the 80s one and you look at the new one, there's not that much difference. I mean, yeah, if you really think what's more or less different, is just that the headpiece, that's that, and she's wearing kind of like boots, pumps, and thinking that's it. And thinking there's no.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I'm just trying to think, like, what are you on about? Like, just
Yeah.
it's just.
And also, I think it's important as well to, like, consider, especially with a program like this, like, as you say, it's like it's an animation that is marketed towards a family or a younger audience as well. And it's kind of like, well, hang on a minute. Surely we want to be showing them that you can be a superhero, and you can be dressed modestly. Like, you don't have to be dressed, and you shouldn't have to be dressed. Like, what is more important is that you are a hero and what you do, and not what you wear as
And be
well. Like,
comfy. Yeah.
especially when you're a 16-year-old kid as well.
And yeah, when you're running around and just like, you gotta destroyed the Hordak bots and thinking, you got just like
Yeah, exactly.
talking
Exactly.
about never thought I'll be talking about how a 16-year-old should be comfortable. Thinking, what?
I know. Let's end it
We
there.
live in a world. We
Um,
live in a funny world. What can I say?
all right. Well, let's go through then all the shows and films we've spoken about now, so people have their weekend watch list playlist. So we started with WandaVision, and an incredible finale that came out today on Disney Plus. If you're watching the stream and missed our chat on WandaVision, you can just rewind back towards the beginning right now, or once the video is available on replay, do check that part out. The next show we brought to you was The Boys, which is something that Ty brought to the chat today. Wonderful show. I'm 4 episodes into the first season, and I'm really intrigued to see where the show goes further. Ty, you loved it because it's just a bit more adult, a bit more grown up, and seeing superheroes in a bit more of a grown up light. Am I right?
An older narrative is never bad. It's actually, some people can actually take to it very well.
Yeah, man. I feel you. Very nice. Then we had Grand Army as well. This is on Netflix. I really recommend checking out if you love shows that are socio-political conscience. Grand Army is full on in that. And also, if you're, the kind of shows you watch are very much WandaVision and I don't know, maybe Mandalorian stuff, and you want to check something out that's just that little bit different, then Ty fully recommends you do that for that reason. We then had Pixar's Soul, which was the most life-affirming film of 2020 and probably one that we all needed. Am I right?
100%.
Definitely, man. Definitely. And then we finished on She-Ra and the Princesses of Power. Again, if you want to see, as I think Ty and I have discussed, representation done well and something that is just fun, that is just chilled and relaxed, and you're going to have a good time, She-Ra is the one for you.
It doesn't care. Yeah.
It doesn't care. Ty, where can the people find you should they wish to follow you on socials, man?
Yeah, so people, I am over on Instagram, so that is I_Ty, and Twitter, I'm at iTy11, and yeah, those are my only socials, I think. Yeah,
those are your only socials. Let me just quickly put them on the screen for people, and then it was iTy11, yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Let's add that in. Boom. There they are. So if you want Instagram, I_Ty, and if you want Twitter, iTy11. And if you want to check out Ty's YouTube channel, I have put the link in the description box down below. Do make sure you go over, check him out. If you really love, as Ty says, the 80s, 90s nostalgia shows, he dives deep into things like Power Rangers, like your She-Ras. Yeah, man. That's you, innit, man? That's you in a bubble.
That's my bread and butter. If I could yeah.
Top right there.
Coin it. And also another one. Then I'm done.
Ninja Turtles. Great. Cool, man. Lovely. Any last words from you?
Thanks so much for having me, man. I've had a really fun time, and yeah, it's just been an awesome kind of talking about these different shows, having a very healthy conversation, I would say, about diversity.
Yeah.
It's nothing. I've not said you're wrong, you've not said I'm wrong. It's just been open. We've kind of just been on that very, it's been very balanced. It's quite refreshing. And these are kind of conversations that I don't think anyone really has, and I think maybe these are the conversations that we do need to start having. And I think what your channel is a great outlet for that, man. And then you're doing a pretty great job, man. So yeah, thanks, man. And, really awesome job.
It's been great to have you on as well. As I said, you brought that idea with diversity and representation that I've not delved into enough on the channel yet. And so it's always nice to, I look at it from a very positive point of view and I try and push that. But every now and then you have to look at it from the other side as well and try and understand what's going on the other side as well. And you've brought that today, and I really appreciate you for that. So that has been beautiful. Lovely. Right. So I'll just wrap up before we go then. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us on the live stream today. It's been lovely having you all in the chat as well. Thank you very much for that. If you're watching on playback and you've gotten this far into the video, firstly, praise be to you for sticking around with us for an hour and a half on playback. I absolutely
Thank
love you for that. If you have any thoughts, please drop them in the comment section down below, and I will reply to that as soon as I can. Apart from that, you have your weekend watch list, and we will see you. Well, I will definitely see you in 2 weeks' time for a live show, but Ty will definitely be back in the future for a live show, provided he is willing. And I'm hoping.
Yes, yes.
Hallelujah. He's like, yes, get me back. Awesome, man. Thank you very much.
Love this fight. So when are we doing it next? Like,
Yeah, definitely, man. Straight up. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Cheers.